Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This guy over here is Tim, and this is The Second Legacy, and thank you so much for stopping by. Today, we have another episode of our live callers. Now, this is so powerful because it shows you you're not alone in this amazing nation. There are many more people out there just like you, and that's what this call-in session is all about. Getting to that opinion and that thought process. If you guys like the channel, if you want to see Second Legacy go, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. We need as many of you as possible to get in here and spread the news of Second Legacy, because we are going to pass the blessing of the Second Amendment along to the next generation, and thank you for that support. And if you want to be on the live caller shows, just like you're about to see, there is a Dropbox link, a Google link down there in the description box to where you can sign up and we can have a conversation, and hopefully we see you on there, and thank you for checking that out. I'm going to say a quick word from our sponsor, and then we're going to get to this live call. Now, the vest you're seeing me wear is from BulletSafe, and they've sponsored these videos. BulletSafe is on a mission to be the #1 provider for safety equipment such as this for not only the civilian, but also the security market. Now, the VP3 that I'm wearing comes in at $299.97, which makes it completely affordable and provides up to or better than Kevlar protection. This thing is NIJ level 3 tested. You are talking about up to 44 Magnum stopping on this bad boy. They've made it concealable, discreet, comfortable, and breathable. It's modular and upgradable, and in comparison to previous models, it's 50% thinner and 25% lighter. As you can see, I'm wearing in the filming of this spot, and it is not even adding to any of my dexterity whatsoever. This is something very concealable, and if you're in the market, this might be something just for you, and thank you to BulletSafe for making this content possible. All right, so with that out of the way, thank you so much to that sponsor, but now let's get to Michael. Michael, thank you for calling in, taking your time to talk to us. What you got for us, my man?
How are you guys today?
Pretty good.
Very good.
Good. I'm calling today because I agree with you guys. I'm trying to pass this on to the next generation. And I see a lot of things from the other side with like funding things to pass a movement or push the movement along, like push it along culturally. And I was wondering, are there any like grants or systems or like anything along those lines to get people to like start a range or start offering training to pass this Second Amendment on to other people?
There is. So just so I can fully kind of encapsulate that question, and then Tim and I will kind of start this to break this down. So you're saying essentially you see the left doing a lot of funding of grassroots movement against our rights. What are we doing on our side of it to not only fund it, but foster it into that next generation to provide the green shoots of freedom for the next gen? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, perfect. So I know from my perspective, there's lots of individual things doing, people doing that. We've had a lot of people call in who do that, but also there's pretty large organizations. I mean, like Tim, you're familiar with one of them intimately, aren't you?
So there are a couple of different organizations out there. So federally, not so much. We have the CMP, but that's not something that you hear the government talk much about anymore. But you'll find at the state level, like here in Indiana, we have state ranges, for example. The state has to maintain ranges for the citizens to use. Then you have other private organizations. There's organizations that I've seen at the national level and also here at the state level that go into schools and then teach firearm safety, then take the kids out and introduce them to skeet and trap shooting. And that's an easy way to get in because skeet and trap shooting isn't usually frowned upon by the anti-gunners, people that are just kind of on the fence. Now, we want to use that to kind of segue into bringing back 22s. When I was a kid, we had an indoor range at our high school where they taught marksmanship with 22 rifles. They had to close it down before I got to school because of lead and safety issues, but not because of politics, right? So it would be nice to see that happen again. And we can do that through funding these state level organizations and national level organizations outside of the government to kind of push this along so that we can maintain our culture and our heritage. We can come at it from the angle of hunting because that seems to be a safe spot because the anti-gunners will always say to you, we don't want to take your hunting rifles away. You just don't need a weapon of war. Okay, well, we'll just take this shotgun into a school and teach these kids how to use it, and we'll take them out and do some trap and skeet shooting, and we'll pass along our culture and traditions that way. And then they can kind of figure it out on their own from there. But I would also like, again, to segue that into getting them back into shooting handguns and rifles and teaching marksmanship. Not only is it good for our culture, it's good for teaching safety, hunter safety, and it's also for bringing up that next generation to defend our country and our way of life. So yeah, there are organizations out there. Don't look to the government so much. You're just going to have to look to local organizations and privately funded organizations.
And that's kind of where I was alluding to was it's the organizations, some great in some areas, some weak in some areas. One that I'm just going to highlight, and it's a punching bag, to be quite honest with you right now. The NRA is an example of an organization that has lots of different programs for youth and feeding into that next level of that culture. The Eddie Eagle program was one of the best programs that they were using to teach children safety and also that heritage. In fact, even the left was trying to use that exact same model, but they got pushback because it was from the NRA. So, I mean, it's legitimately good stuff. I know the NSSF is involved in some things. Again, those organizations are not perfect, but there are examples of that happening. But that's not the most powerful, in my opinion. Because, I mean, if you look at the NRA, obviously there's issues, especially at the top. But if you look at the training modules that they had, if you looked at the training programs that they had, they were doing a lot of outreach in those programs, particularly at the localized levels. But now you go to the individuals, and this is where you're seeing a lot more of the movement, and the left, quite honestly, can't compete with it. So you hear the idea of grassroots movement across the board, right? The left will always say, there's a grassroots movement of youth. They've never been activated like this. They're skipping school for our thing. Yeah, because they weren't skipping school because they could skip school. Anyway, but they'll do this whole thing with grassroots, but what they're not realizing is there's an entire generation of people that are passing on these rights to the next generation, kind of like this. The conversation kind of goes like this. And Tim, how many times have you seen someone do this? Hey, can I ask you a gun question? And they look over their shoulders, make sure everything's good because they're uncomfortable. The next part of that is, yeah, let me take you to the range really quickly. And you're introducing them through safety, and you're introducing through adoption because the need has arisen, which goes to what we're seeing in our nation right now. We have females and minorities picking up guns at greater rates than they ever have before. And I guarantee you that's not because the NRA put out a bulletin. Yeah. It's because the need has been established. There's a need for safety, and they're reaching out to those around them as resources who they trust, who know about firearms for that. Hey, what about this? Can you help me with this? And that's happening. And that's where all this power is coming from. Because the left organizes everything from a whole group perspective. They do not see individuals. If they saw individuals, then that would conflict with the leftist narrative. It's collective versus individual. That's why you see big unions. That's why you see demographic blocks. That's why everything is divided up into neat little controllable buckets. If you look on the right side of the aisle, it's all individualism, and it's trying to herd cats sometimes because everyone's so individualistic, which is not a problem, but it is an issue with organization. That's what you're seeing, and that's why the growth is happening, even in the face of this tremendous amounts of pressure from Evertown, Giffords, XYZ group.
David Hogg.
Davey.
But hey, no, I love throwing him into every video.
Hold on. Davey Hogg shoots shotguns. So shotguns are okay. I saw it happen.
He was out at Harvard.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was an intentional leak or if it was an accidental thing, but a picture got posted of him shooting shotguns on a skeet range. And
he's a skeet shooter.
And he's like, look, I'm one of you, and only you pro-gun guys would get mad at me when I'm trying to show you that I'm not against guns. I'm actually for gun ownership. I just don't think that you should have these weapons of war. Hey, Davey, shotguns are weapons of war too.
Right.
Every single thing that a man could ever pick up and use to hurt another man has been used in warfare, from
Especially
pointed objects to swords to guns to bombs to fire.
Rocks. Rocks.
Yes. David and Goliath. Slain with a stone and a sling.
Boom, baby.
Yes, we've been everything. Like, you can't give that weapon of war to your child. What, the slingshot? Yeah,
the slingshot.
Yeah. So it's absolute insanity. But we are winning the cultural war. It may not seem like it. It may not seem like it, but we really are. We're getting Supreme Court decisions that are in our favor. We're seeing more and more states passing things like constitutional carry. At first, we were just happy to get all 50 states issuing permits. I don't like permits. Right. I certainly don't like paying for the privilege of exercising my rights. The Second Amendment guarantees us a right to carry firearms. Well, now over half of the states acknowledge that. And they say, you know what? We don't need permits. Just carry your guns. That's the way it's supposed to be. We're winning that argument. And it's really grinding on those people that oppose us. They can't stand that. They can't stand that. Mm-hmm. And if you just get on their social media and look at the posts they're making and the absolute insanity that they're posting and how crazy and rabidly foaming at the mouth they are, how angry they are about our successes, it tells you everything you need to know.
100%, man. And if you want to get back to kind of that point of what he just said, and this is an interesting observation, again, King Davey. I love me some Davey.
I wish we'd get him on the show.
Oh my gosh, that would be the greatest thing
It'd be
of
so
my
fun.
life.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I would not even let you talk. I couldn't even keep you from talking. You would be. I would be like, shut up. So the interesting thing about this is they've gone down the route, and I'm going to directly tie this back to your original question in a second. So they've gone down the route of utilizing social media personalities and tweet. I have 1 million Twitter followers. Okay, what's that mean? It means I can shout very loudly and scream. And that's Davey Hogg. That was the first one. Well, now we've got the next generation because Davey's becoming an old man now. So now you've got these two little Gen Z boys that are going around and circulating the internet that are Democratic operatives that are paid shills by the DNC. And
no, they're not. They're paid through a third party that's funded by the DNC, not the DNC directly.
You're right. You know what, Tim? Thank you. You are keeping me honest. Hold on. Let me correct the record. There are two Gen Zs who are spouting about gun control, saying Republicans should be scared, I tell you, in their cars that their daddy paid for. And they're being paid by a management corporation, which is then being paid by the DNC. It's not directly from the DNC, of course. But the big point in bringing those up is the arguments are getting louder and hollower. They are not getting more concise and more potent. They are getting dumber. And that's an important piece because even with all of the funding programs that you're talking about from Everytown for Gun Safety, Moms Demand Action, Giffords.org, here's this grant for this amazing gun control tweeter of the year, it's not working the way that they want it to work. And that's a really important piece because you can throw money at this problem all you want from a leftist perspective, but they're running into the issue of, on the grassroots level, nothing is overcoming the basic need to utilize your rights for your protection. And that's why you're seeing these demographic switches. That's why you're seeing the consolidation of the 10 blue states that are for gun control going whole hog, and the rest of the 40 are going, yeah, we're going the other direction. 27 constitutional carry states, by the way. So that's what you're seeing on the ground level. You have to zoom out real high and have to be really to see it on almost like a sand table. But there's no direct funding from a group like the NRA to individuals for doing something. But there is individual rewards and awards for doing things like, hey, great trainer, great this, great that. But it's not the same thing. It's achieving the same result, but it's a different medium, if that makes sense. Did I land that? Did I land that plane, Michael?
Yeah.
I mean, I hope I did. I try to.
No, it's just, I think, like you guys were talking about and you hit on a couple times, I do see the grassroots side on our side being a lot more effective. And my problem with it is culturally, we're, like you said, we're very quiet about it. It's a taboo topic. And, I'm trying to figure out ways to push the culture along to where it's not taboo and it's not like politics at Thanksgiving or Christmas.
So you know how, and this is kind of funny because you're talking to two of them who do it. The way to do it is through everyday examples like YouTube channels and consistently having good ways to put out information. That's the way to do it.
But you can also do it at the local level and yourself. And here's something I do. So take open carry, for example. You'll find that somewhat divisive in the Second Amendment community, whether you should open carry or not. Most people that are against it would say, well, it's not tactically sound. Well, some of us live in the country, and tactically sound isn't necessarily a requirement. We just carry guns every day. When I'm roaming around my property in the middle of nowhere, Indiana, I have a gun on, and if it's 100 degrees out, it's not covered up. When I go to the barber, even when I went to a new barber just recently at a town over is a half hour away. When I went to the new barber, I took my jacket off and I said, oh, by the way, I got a gun on. Hope you don't mind. I didn't ask for permission. I just said, I have a pistol on, taking my coat off. Cool with that? And they're like, oh, yeah. My husband has a gun, and what do you think about picking up a new? I started that conversation, and the entire time I was sitting in that chair, we talked about guns. So what I'm doing is normalizing the gun, because if we hide them away and we pretend like they're taboo, they become taboo. Yep. They're not taboo. It's like hiding your car away, hiding your motorcycle away. Why would you be embarrassed by it? There's nothing to be embarrassed by. It's just a tool. It's like hiding the knife in your pocket, not want to tell somebody you have a pocket knife. Nobody would do that for the most part.
So Tim just marked himself as a safe space. That's what he just did. He made him as a safe space for someone else to talk to him.
But anyway, no, I think that's
good.
It's a great conversation to have. I do think that culturally we have to have that conversation more, and I think it's incumbent upon all of us in the Second Amendment community to find those organizations and those groups and become active, help fund them, help take part in them, volunteer time, anything you can do to help push that ball forward. And so I want to thank you for asking that question or bringing that topic up. It was a great topic for discussion. If you guys would like to join the discussion here on the Second Legacy, there is a link in the video description below. Follow that link, answer some questions. We'll give you a call, get you on the show. You can have a conversation, either ask a question or bring up a point to talk about, and we'd be glad to have you on the show. Until then, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you guys soon.